Oireachtas, and good afternoon, Minister and colleagues. I very much welcome the opportunity to contribute to this debate. More importantly, I even more welcome the opportunity to listen to this debate and listen to all sides, particularly those who may have different views to myself. There's two pretty much motions before us. One is about Defence Forces overseas, and secondly, it's about the PESCO projects. I'm going to deal with the first one first. I'd like to echo a lot of the comments, particularly by Deputy Gary Gannon in praising our troops overseas, particularly those in the Middle East. We have over 500 troops there at the moment, keeping a lid on potential conflicts over there. And we've seen just recent events in Ukraine, why it's catastrophic and devastating for Ukraine themselves. We can see the effects of the conflict, direct effects here in this country in relation to the arrival of refugees, cost of living, cost of fuel, everything. So it casts a different shade on our peacekeeping troops overseas. Yes, they are absolutely working for the global good, but they're also working in Ireland's self-interest out there as well to make sure the stability in the world continues. Turning towards the PESCO projects, I'm very much in favour of the 4 projects that have been selected, and let me tell you why. I'm very proud to say that in 1926, my great-granduncle was part of the military mission, the first Irish military mission to the USA. Spent 15 months in the US, 6 of them in total, and they came back and they established a military college in my own constituency in the Curragh camp, and we've been benefiting from that ever since. From my own personal experience in dealing with international training courses, benefited enormously from it. Spent 3 months in the UK on a live fire course, came back, and the standard of live fire training and expertise in our own defence forces has increased considerably as a result. That's why our troops are so good overseas. That's why our troops are so heavily sought after. They're very, very composed and comfortable in a live fire scenario. Their weapons handling is excellent, and their weapons discipline is excellent, unlike other countries who will be a bit more trigger happy and a bit more jumpy. The second point I'd like to raise is I spent a lot of time in the jungle in Belize, and which made me a better peacekeeper in Liberia and Cote d'Ivoire. I spent a month there, spent months and months all over Europe working with like-minded countries to improve our hostage rescue capability and bring it back to Ireland, and spent a lot of time in the UK doing medical courses, medical training, which again we ploughed back into our defence forces here. So for me, PESCO is not about Europe, it's about Ireland. It's about improving our own standards, because the reality is we do not have the expertise here on this island, and we have to go abroad to get the expertise and plough it back. So purely from a military perspective, I see the absolute self-interest from Ireland's point of view. Turning to the 4 projects that have been selected, and I agree with all 4 of them. Firstly, the cyber. There are 2 seats in the National Cyber Security Centre for military cyber experts. Again, we don't have the expertise in Ireland. We have to go abroad. We have to get the expertise to prevent and to deal with an attack if it happens. We've seen the devastating effects of the HSE attack only last year. Secondly, from a disaster management point of view, and I don't want to make a false equivalence or anything, I'm just going to make a classic example that I was involved in the vaccination programme in Ireland, and we know, everyone in this chamber knows that it was very, very sluggish at the start for the first 2 or 3 months. Because we've never done it before, we hadn't trained together. We know if there's a tsunami abroad, if there's an earthquake, if there's a volcano, if there's a severe weather events, there's going to be an international response. And if we haven't trained together, if we haven't cooperated together in the past, we're going to find it very, very difficult to have a cohesive response. In relation to the medical training, again, I've mentioned at the committee, I'm very, very concerned about the medical training in the Defence Force at the moment. Any opportunities we get to improve our expertise, to improve our tools, improve our talent, we should certainly seize and bring back into our own Defence Force and plough into our own training. And then I would say in relation to the last one, in relation to the mines, the Naval Service literally just do not have the expertise in dealing with mines. Yes, sea mines from the Second World War do float ashore occasionally. Mines are becoming extremely, I suppose, topical in the Black Sea at the moment, that if the international community decide that they need to go in and secure Odessa and bring out the grain out of the silos there is going to be a requirement to deal with the sea mine threat. And we don't have the expertise. We have to get the expertise to bring it back in. So look, my views is purely from a training perspective. Any interaction we've had with the European Union from a national perspective has been on balance positive. Students use the Erasmus programme and they engage with the European Union from that perspective. We know the Garda Síochána, they use Europol. We know ministers use the Council of Ministers. And PESCO, to me, is how militaries engage with each other and cooperate with each other, exchange skills from a workshop perspective, and bring it back to their own national, individual defence forces to improve their standards. So in summary, I would say that PESCO, to me, it doesn't compromise our peacekeeping standards. Any kind of international training doesn't compromise our peacekeeping standards. It actually created those peacekeeping standards in the first place, and it actually enhanced them as well. So in summary, I'm in favour of those 4 projects. I do hear the divergent views in the Chamber, and I very much respect them. But from our own self-interest, from Ireland's perspective and from our armed forces perspective, these 4 projects will make us better peacekeepers. These 4 projects will make us better soldiers, sailors and flight crew. We'll be able to protect our country better to a higher standard and be able to contribute, should we wish, on a voluntary basis to international operations overseas. Thank you very much.